And let me start a new session presentation as well. So today we are at session 8, and this is the last formal session before we award you the PDU certificate. The remaining sessions are not needed from a PDU perspective. Doesn't mean that they're not useful. It's just that from a PDU perspective, we want to close the program today so that you can apply to IIBA and take it forward. Okay. So let me just save this file in the right place. (2019) and we are in the US all batch, and I'm taking the last session. Okay. Before we begin whatever we have to discuss today, is there any question that you would like to ask me?
I send you a message on the private chat, and when you get a chance, just respond to it.
Oh,
please.
sure.
Thank you.
Chat is something that sure, Muhammad. We can do it now as well if you wish.
No, I'll do it offline.
Yeah. Offline? Okay, no problem. We'll do it offline. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Any other question from anyone else? No other question? That's great. Okay. I trust you guys have started going through the question bank. This is, I think, 10th time or 20th time I'm requesting you. The amount of time that you spend in the session, you have to spend double the time outside the training as well. We are able to cover only so many questions, very few questions actually. And that's highly inadequate to make you ready for the exam. So please take up the questions, plan your session. I trust Fatima has created a good plan for you. If you go to study guide section and just go to the exam help part, you will find different kind of preparation plan. Say for example, if you are going for ECBA, she has prepared one ECBA preparation plan, CCBA preparation plan, CBAP preparation plan. So different plans she has created. So for a sample purpose, let me take the CCBA one. Okay, because it's in the middle. Okay. So if you look at it, this has a very simple method. So if you just go here, this is not a good one actually. I think this is okay. Now she is calling it a study plan. Okay, that's not a problem. So use the study plan actually. The other one we will drop. It looks like a repeat document. So in this plan, if you see, if you put your exam date, saying this is the date on which I would like to take the exam. So let me take it as 15th June 2019. Just a random date I'm putting, don't worry. It'll actually tell you by what date you should complete this question bank. Okay, so some of it actually 15th June looks to be very aggressive date, but maybe if I put 30th June, I think it should be fine. So it's almost like a week kind of delay, but if you can catch up, it'll tell you by this date you have to complete this exam. So it'll tell you all these drills that you need to go through. And it'll typically end a week prior, which means the last week is left open for you to do any other thing, or if there is an emergency, you couldn't complete something that you can complete during the last week of your preparation. So please use this template, set a target date for yourself, and then go from there.
So excuse me, Ling. One question I have is, should we spend more time in the question bank when we feel like we're almost ready, or we should spend the last bit of time before the exam to actually read the book again?
That's why the last week we kept it open. If you see, all our tests get over a week prior. So you still have the last week to do your revision and not to do any question further. The very last week is left only for revision purpose, like looking through the study guide, maybe going through some concepts which you are finding difficult for that purpose. So the question should be over little before you take the actual test.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe I will also include, this looks to be a little high actually, because usually these fundamental questions, you should close them very, very quickly. Maybe we are giving a lot of time for fundamental questions. I think all fundamental questions can be done in 2 days. They're very easy questions. So I'll try to ask Fatima to include the chapter review time as well. So let me just make that as a note, saying include chapter review time in the study plan. I think she's not doing that right now. She's mainly focusing on the question bank, but I think chapter review time should also be there in the study plan. Okay, so this I will ask her to update the plan. Any other question? Anybody else?
I had a question in regards to, so the passing mark I think is around 86 for each quiz or for each test.
Yes, that's the internal one.
Yes. Well, in terms of strategy, if I don't pass one, do you recommend that we go back and read the answers right away, or move on and then come back to it at a later time? Because I find that you start memorizing the answers if you do that.
True. That's very natural. See, only thing that we expect you from a success guarantee perspective is that you should clear all simulations flawlessly. Chapter-based questions we really don't bother so much because these are more preparatory questions. But I think it's good to review the questions where you did not do well, because that will tell you what aspects you are missing.
Yeah.
So that way it is easier for you to reconnect to the subject immediately after the test. So after you complete the test, go back and get into the review mode. The questions that you got it right, it's very good, because you can always say, okay, I got it right, and the logic, maybe the logic that you used and we used might be slightly different, but you can reconcile that. But the questions where you went wrong, obviously you need to figure out why you did not get the right answer.
Yeah. And in terms of the reading the BABAC, the style I'm using anyways personally, I go back to BABAC, read the areas where I made mistakes in. So I use the tips that you mentioned earlier yesterday. It's a study guide, and then do the quizzes, and then as you fail or make mistakes, you go back and then look it up in the BABAC guide.
Yes.
But I never actually took the time to read the full BABAC guide, and I'm willing to go in and write the exam without doing that. Is there any risk with that?
No. Okay. The only people who can do a little light read of BABAC is probably ECBA. ECBA guys can generally do a little light read up, but for CCBA and CBAP, my recommendation should be something like that. For ECBA, maybe one quick read and one kind of detailed read. Okay, for CCBA, I would say you do it 2 times, one quick read and 2 detailed read. And for CBAP, it will actually go up a little bit more, maybe 2 quick reads and 2 detailed read. So you do 1 quick read, 2 detailed read, plus 1 quick read at the end, like just before the exam, you do 1 quick read. So for CBAP, we want you to spend a little more time on Babok. The philosophy is something like this. We have tried to put about 95% of Babok content in our study guide, but there's still possibility that we missed some 2, 3, 4%. So you should not be penalized for missing those 3, 4%. But for ECBA, I don't think that's big requirement because I think the study guide is generally good enough. Not that the study guide is bad for CBAP, but the question intensity is higher. That is why we expect you to spend more time.
Go back to the preparation plan.
This one, whatever we saw, yes.
And when I go in and I try to access it, I'm getting something different.
Which one did you access? It's here only. You for which standard? It depends on that standard because I'm a faculty. I have access to everything. CBAP would be slightly different. This is the preparation plan for CBAP. What I downloaded was CCBA.
Okay.
So it'll look little different because each standard probably has a different number of question bank and all. Okay. No, this is not this. This is the preparation plan. There should be a CBAP study plan. This one. Okay. So this may have more number of questions. Prep info. Yeah, it looks a little different. I think maybe C actually made it a lot better. This looks much more nicer actually. Pre-preparation, additional material, the question bank plan. The colors are also a little different, I think, because the standard is different. And C has put everything here. I think C has made the CBAP one much nicer. Maybe I'll request her to do the same thing for CCBA and ECBA as well.
Okay, thank you.
It looks
more. So really,
it looks more comprehensive.
Disregard this CBAP preparation plan. Just stick with one you're looking at.
Yeah, the CBAP certification study plan.
Okay, thank you.
It's done actually quite nicely.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, Alex.
Go ahead.
So I have a couple of questions to ask from you. Like, how many times study guide I need to read before the
2
exam?
times.
Because I am in the process.
2 times, not more than 2 times.
Okay. Okay, so because I'm doing study guide first and I'm giving test accordingly as per the topic, and then when during the review process, whenever like I'm wrong, I'll go to the Babok and refer the topic.
Yes, that's more than enough.
Then once my study guide is finished, I'll go to Babok for a higher level.
Not a problem.
Okay. So, but like whenever I give exam, I get like 80%. Then still I'm like considered as failed. So I'm just curious, like what's the passing mark in CBAP exam?
No, okay.
85.
No, we don't know. Okay, let me just clarify the concept of passing mark. Okay, passing mark. We really don't know. IIBA does not disclose, but we believe it to be around 75%. That's our belief that if you score 75%, you're pretty much okay. And because our question quality and IIBA question quality can be a little different, people tend to perform little worse in the actual exam compared to the preparatory exam. That is why we ask you to score 85% in the mock tests.
Okay.
That means if you're scoring 75% in the mock test, it's possible that you actually go a little below in the actual exam.
Yeah.
That is why we have kept a buffer so that if you are scoring 85% in the mock tests, that means you are actually quite ready to take the actual test.
Okay. So it will be like topic by topic in IIBA, like
no.
Sorry, in CBAP, like if I get suppose 75% in 80% in some topic and 70% in some other topic, so will they consolidate or if they will consider it separately, like in different knowledge areas?
It's also not disclosed. The problem with IIBA is the amount of information they tell you is very little. They're very, very, what I would say, secretive about the process they follow to make somebody pass or fail. To us, it appears to be like this, whatever we have discussed with many participants, and some of them have not cleared well. We understand it's something like this. There are 3 ratings that you get on each knowledge area. So on each KA, you get a rating. And the ratings are something like this: higher than average, average, and lower than average. Okay. So it looks like this is based on the recent 1-month test, people who have taken the test, because the question pattern keeps varying a little bit. So they want to kind of normalize it. If you get anywhere lower than average on any of the Ks, you fail. 1K, 1K you get lower than average, you fail. But you can get, say, a couple of Ks as average. So 2 Ks like this, and if you get 4 Ks like this, which means you would pass. But I have seen people who got all 6 average. Then also they failed. Okay, although they got average in all knowledge areas, they probably could not clear the bar on an overall level. So our understanding of Babok test is you are evaluated on each knowledge area. You are evaluated on each KA and overall. So there are 2 levels of assessment happening on how you have done in the exam. One, on individual knowledge area, you must get average or above average. And overall, they're expecting you to score some percentage so that even if you are average on all, you still can fail. It's kind of a bit complicated, and the failure rates are pretty high actually. Say for ECBA, the failure rate is about 5%. It's not very high. For CCBA, it's probably about 10%. For CBAP, it's about 30%.
Failure rate is 30%.
Yes, failure rate.
Yeah.
So that is why I have been kind of bit hard on CBAP guys, because we understand the failure rate right now is way above acceptable limit. I trust IIBA will do something about it, but when they will do, we don't know. It's up to IIBA, and IIBA is generally a little slow organization. They take time to make a decision correction. It's not a big organization as well, so the number of people who are responsible are quite small. So that's why they take time to make a lot of corrections. And they probably don't want to be very fast as well, because maybe in a hurry you make mistakes. That is the philosophy with which IIBA works. So they want to go little slow in everything that you propose, you request. Not that they don't do, but they do it at a little later time. Like I think this ECBA wasn't there about 3 years back. So a lot of EEPs wrote to IIBA saying that you need a program for juniors. So IIBA kind of understood that, and they created this ECBA certification. They have created the Agile certification. They're looking at a certification for analytics, one for security. So they do respond, but a little slow space. Okay. Any other subject-related question?
The passing mark scheme that you just gave, is that also for the ECBA, or is that just for the CCBA and CBAP?
For all.
For all of them? Okay.
For all of them, yeah. The pattern actually repeats, and that's what actually worries me sometimes for ECBA, because in ECBA there is one particular knowledge area for which 1% is allocated, which is solution evaluation. So that becomes a very dangerous knowledge area. See, 1% out of 50 questions is how much? 1 question. And if you don't do well, then what happens in that question?
You could fail.
So it's very strange, actually. I think they should remove. I don't know why they kept such a strange thing, and I actually raised a concern about that as well. Okay, I'll just show you the ECBA question pattern, and you will see that, like from IIBA, if you go, you'll see it here. I can understand there is some chapter which is 5%, 5%, it's still okay. But 1%, that too on a 50 question set, what does it mean? It's 0.5 questions. Technically, it's 0.5 questions. How do you ask a 0.5 question?
Yeah, right.
You can't ask. So they should actually not ask it or put something in generic mode, saying what they could have done. They could have said, combine that with BA concepts or something. Ideal distribution should have been, we ask only these 3 chapters: elicitation and collaboration, requirement analysis and design definition, and life cycle management, and some generic concepts about BA. Those 4 areas should have been enough for a ECBA exam. No need to ask every knowledge area. Anyway, but there's one good news I recently saw. Like if you say CBAP, there are little more sample questions now from IIBA. Earlier they used to give only 3 questions. Now they have made it as 8 questions. So which is at least some better questions have come. So now there are 8 questions available in the platform. I think maybe there is there is the answer as well. Okay, answer is also there. So you can take these questions, but I think they should have given the answer in a separate place, not with the question, because then the person is tempted to take a look at it. So maybe I'll do one thing. I will copy these questions into a document and the answers I'll put it separately and send it out to you. Okay, but the problem here is, again, it is non-representative of actual exam, because in actual exam you get case-based questions which are not covered as part of this. It's still covering only scenario-based questions, which is something that we should make a request. Maybe I'll make a request to JAS. Please include sample case question in CBAP sample question set. Glad to see that we have now 8 sample questions. Can you please look into my request? I think all of you should also make a request to IIBA. Sometimes when we write, they think that we are kind of being critical of IIBA or whatever. That because you keep writing, they become a little bit, what do you say, defensive about you. But since you guys are the student or members of IIBA, you have a right to write to them and say that, okay, make a request saying, can you folks provide more number of sample questions? Maybe that will have higher weight. It's like, when you know somebody well, you start ignoring that person. That's a very natural human tendency. Since IIBA knows us, they generally ignore our request. Whereas since they don't know you, they would probably entertain your request. Okay, do that. Good. So I think we can go ahead with today's discussion.
I just have one more question.
Go ahead, yeah.
So I know the content on the Succeed site we have for 180 days or whatever, whatever it is around that. Do we have to also take the exam within that period, or is that just for the content that we have?
Just for the content.
Just for the content? Okay.
Yes.
So there's no expiry on the PDUs that we have acquired?
No, the PDUs will last for 4 years. So
okay.
You have enough time.
For sure.
But I would trust if somebody is not taking the test within next 6 months, the person will probably never take the exam.
Okay, gotcha.
It's very hard. That is why I actually would probably sometime down the road, we would probably make the content available only for maximum 6 months.
Just to kind of focus people.
Just kind of making sure that people don't consider, oh, the book is available or the content is available for 1 year or maybe more, I'll take it as I like. Your probability of success goes down considerably after 3-4 months.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So please don't, just because of availability, don't use it to your disadvantage. Please take a date. I think the best thing for you to do is, we are in the beginning of May, which is still a good time, and the weather is quite nice and all that. So please plan the exam either towards end of June, July, mid-July, but not beyond July. Okay, please find a date which is workable for you. Set that date and work backwards.
Yeah.
It will happen. If you keep it in a forward planning mode, I will read, I will take the test, and I will take the final test. It doesn't happen. Rather, you say in your mind, this is the day on which I would go for the test. Then plan backwards. It happens.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It also helps you kind of focus, because then you're like, okay, I have a date already set.
Yes.
All right, now I have X weeks to kind of get all the material done.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sign up for a date now.
What did you say?
Do you recommend that we sign up for a date right now for the test?
I would prefer if you can, but it's up to you. I'm saying, I'm just giving you a tentative timeline, saying either, suppose for ECBA guys, I will say mid of June is pretty doable. For CCBA guys, end of June is doable. For CBAP guys, middle of July is doable. But going beyond July doesn't make sense for anyone, any of the participants, I would say.
So, the test results, let's say you don't pass. How do you know, like, how are they communicated to you? Do you know what you did in mistakes?
No, no. They don't tell you anything other than the fact that on some knowledge areas you did not do well. That is all they will tell you.
Oh, really?
Nothing other than that.
So out of the 100, they don't tell you have 70 right, 30 wrong?
No, nothing. The results are, I think some results might be there with me. Sometimes people send me, let me see if I can, I think I should keep one of these mails. I somehow forget about keeping these mails. But I think, let me see, by chance I can find a mail. Yes, something like this it comes. Okay. This is how the result comes. Don't worry about the name part. It's just a person. Don't disclose it or anything. So this is how they tell you the result. That much they tell you. BA planning and monitoring, comparable, that's average. Elicitation, higher. LCM, average. Strategy analysis, average, higher. Requirement analysis, average. And solution evaluation, lower. So this person probably did not qualify for the exam because she got one knowledge area as lower.
So the comparable is a pass? Comparable
is a pass. But if you get all comparable, maybe you can still fail. As I told you, that means think it in this way, that you have to score overall 70%. You get 60%, you get into the comparable range. You get above 70%, you are in the higher. But if you consistently score 60%, then you are not getting the overall mark.
Yeah.
So this is something that I think.
So how soon will we get that result when we finish the exam?
Oh, maybe about 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It comes very fast. It doesn't wait.
So don't check it on your way home.
No, it's there in the exam center itself, you will know.
This thing IIBA is really fast.
Yeah. So
on the advanced plan, can you retake it? Retake it how many once?
You can retake it as soon as you want, as long as the center is available. There is no restriction on when you can take the retake.
I just upgraded to advanced, and I'm just saying, can you take it over with advanced plan?
Yeah, advanced plan means we take care of your retake fees. So we refund you about $250, which you can again pay to IIBA for taking your test.
Okay, so it's less money the second time?
Yes, no money practically, because the retake fees is $250 in US, but in Canada it's little more because of the state taxes. Maybe you pay $30-40 towards the state taxes.
Okay.
Ellen, I noticed at the bottom it says if you need more additional support, they give you a contact or something. Do you know anybody that tried to reach out and said, give me more details or more feedback on my results? Have they had any success in responses to something like that?
Where does it say that you can reach out to somebody? Nothing.
Scroll down.
Scroll down.
There's a please keep going. Should you need any further assistance, contact.
This is just a generic mail ID. It's just a generic mail ID. It's if you write anything to certification, there will be a mail coming back to you saying you will get a response in 4 days.
And it disappears.
And it disappears after that. Okay. I have written so many mails. Sometimes I get a reply after 2 months, 3 months. It's not very unusual. And of course, you have to keep following up with IIBA to get some response, which is not a good sign, but I think they're loaded. I think they're understaffed. Sorry to say, but that's what it looks like. Okay, we will not discuss those things. We will focus back on our exam preparation. Okay. So today I'm supposed to cover the last piece of information which we could not cover in our previous sessions, and that is related to the behavioral skills for the BA. And this is one topic which I feel IIBA did not do a good job. The reason is very simple. We spend so much time, so much content on technical part, the process part of BA, whereas our success is probably more dependent on our behavioral skills. And I will show you one interesting graph which one of my senior taught me some time back, and the graph looks something like this. So the senior told me that, Ellen, as you go through your career, which could span about 40 years, maybe some of us will work 35, 40, 45, depending on how long we are willing to work. But in general, people would work almost close to 40 years. And in the beginning of your career, people would respect you, they will pay you for your technical skills. But as you kind of come to 10-year, 12-year kind of a time frame, the demand on your behavioral skills and the value for the behavioral skills will go up significantly. You look at your company and you look at the person who is heading your company. How do you rate that person in terms of technical skills versus behavioral skills? Can be very different. Like I remember there was one gentleman who was asked to revive IBM. I'm just forgetting his name. He's very famous. It's a very, very famous case study. He came from PepsiCo. Let me just search his name. It somehow doesn't appear in my mind right now. Person responsible to turn around IBM. Lou Gessner. Okay. So Lou Gessner, actually, not Lou Gessner, I think He came from PepsiCo. That's what I remember. Was it Lou Gessner? Ah, yes, that was Lou Gessner. And if you search about Lou Gessner, um, he did not come from a technology background, okay? But he turned around IBM mainly because he had that passion for customer service. Whereas a lot of people, what happens when they are in the technology space, they just get enamored by technology, and the company wouldn't survive when you don't focus on your customer, but you start focusing on your product. That is what happened to IBM. Okay, same way, when you kind of go up in your career ladder, your technical skills, your UML skills, all that is not going to play a very important role. You would have people who do that work for you, but your ability to interact with your stakeholders, understand their stakes, understand their needs, your ability to work with them as a team, all that will matter. And I trust we would have had a little bigger chapter on this particular subject, but right now it's a very small chapter, and not many questions also come from this chapter. Maybe a couple of questions come from this chapter. That is why usually training providers don't spend much time on this chapter, because we are more aligning ourselves to make you successful in the exam. Okay, so these are the skills that we call it as underlying competency, and these are our foundational skills which allow us to do other work. In that, Babak has created 6 subgroups, or 6 categories you can call, and in each category it also has created some subcategories. So we will look at each one of them and see from where we can get a little resource to make ourselves good business analyst. Okay, so we will start with the first competency, which is analytical thinking and problem solving. So let's start that one. I trust all of you must be hearing this big term called analytics today. Do you hear this term analytics?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, okay. What is analytics? Sorry, there's somebody with a lot of background noise. It's, I think, Deepak. Okay. What is analytics? Aqua? You must have heard this term, analytics, quite a lot. There's so much discussion happening in media, wherever you go, any general literature, people talk so much about analytics, artificial intelligence.
How you analyze the situation and about your conceptual thinking, and you use your, analysis and all.
That is Nidhi, analysis, not analytics. Analytics is regarding what?
Data.
Analytics is all about data. Did data not exist before? It's coming first time to human beings?
No, just kind of the way we gather it and use it.
Deepak, can you please be on mute? I think there's a lot of background noise from your side. I don't know why. Maybe you are outside home or something. Possible. So actually the amount of data being generated had changed significantly. So if you just look at amount of data being generated, amount of data being created, and if you take a trend, and you will see some interesting graphs. Okay, so this is one such graph. This is another graph like this. This is another graph. There are a lot of graphs which you can get. I saw another graph here. This is still a little old. Maybe I can take something 2015, 2019. Maybe this is better. Yeah, so I think this is a good image to take a look. So Now look at this graph and see what's happening. So in 2005, we probably had about 0.2 zettabyte of data, 0.1 zettabyte of data. It almost reached 8 zettabyte of data, which is 80 times growth in 10 years. And if you actually expand this graph to 2020, 2019, it'll be even more humongous change. I think last year people estimated there were about 200 zettabytes of data. I don't know what is zettabyte. I think zettabyte is probably a huge number. Like, what is zettabyte? Like megabyte, petabyte, then zettabyte probably comes. Zettabyte. Zettabyte is, I think, 10 to the power 21. Okay. Megabyte is 10 to the power 6. So petabyte, I think it's an unimaginable number practically. It's like reaching infinite. You can think in that way. This is the kind of data being created. And obviously, internet is creating a lot of data. The devices, sensors, they are creating a lot of data. And the data ability, the human beings' ability to handle data, computers' ability, all are going through a tremendous change. So obviously, organizations are also very curious. They also would like to understand how this data-driven economy helps them. Can I understand data better? Can I use it to my advantage? All that. So I remember, even if I look at Adaptive as a fairly small organization, and I look at our Google Analytics, it gives us so much data about from where our customers come, what is their gender, what devices they use, all that. Okay. And if I just take something like, say, for last year, whatever, it gives you the trend, how things are moving, where things dropped, and all that. Okay. This kind of data availability was unimaginable even 10 years back. So obviously, analytics is going to become a very huge field of science because of our ability to capture so much data. And I think as IoT becomes more prominent, like all our homes, our cars, our televisions, our refrigerators, everything will get connected to internet. So internet can capture anything, wherever you go, wherever you walk, whatever you do, somewhere in the internet it will get captured. It's one way scary as well, but that is what will happen. Okay, so
I had a question about analytics. You said the IIB has a kind of an advanced level certification on analytics that's
not yet.
world recognized?
Not yet. It is being planned. Like we have a special certification for Agile certification, there will be a similar certification for analytics as well. But when it comes, I don't know. But I know it is in plan. The two additional certifications which are being planned, one is on analytics, one is on application security. Like if you go to IIBA as well, suppose you go to certification, here you will find core business analysis certification is where your ECBS, CCBS, CBAP fall. And right now, this specialized business analysis certification, at this point in time, this is only ASC, but there will be more. This is where it will come. Okay. So it may not be a full certification process like what we have for CBAP, but it will be an add-on kind of a smaller module, not be a full-fledged training or full-fledged certification scheme. It's up to IIBA how they would like to take it. Good. So obviously, because of this proliferation of data, We need to understand how to manage this data, and people use this word called big data, which means the volume of data is really, really high. Then as BAs, we are also responsible for problem solving. And anytime we have a challenge, we need to understand why the problem is happening, what can be done to get over the problem. That's one of our key roles. So they have put some subcategories, as I was telling. One is creative thinking. And I really love that particular skill because it's my personal belief that if you can be creative, you can actually solve a lot of problems in a much more cost-effective manner. So I did a little bit of work for a company called Samsung, and there's one very nice innovation these guys did, and you should take a look at that particular thing the company did. It's called Samsung Safety Truck, and see what the company did. Okay, operate this technology into trucks. How much money would you need?
Just a wireless camera.
And a display device at the end. Okay, so the cost would be probably $2,000 at max. But imagine the impact on road safety. It makes it so much safe to drive on roads. Maybe I think we should show this to all government officials and convince them that they should make all trucks and buses and all heavy vehicles which would have this kind of a provision so that people who are coming behind, they are not, they make right decisions instead of making blind decisions. Okay. There are many ways actually you can look at creativity. There's another subject which is of quite interesting to observe. There's a method called TRIZ, TRIZ method. It's not part of BABOK, so don't worry from the exam point of view. But in this method, researchers studied 20,000 plus past innovations. And they came up with 40 useful patterns, I think 40, 50, I don't remember, but there are some nice patterns that they have come up with. So whenever time permits for you, maybe you should take a look at this method and see if some of this method innovation, trees, methodology, principle, images. This is one big method. This is one kind of a comprehensive diagram that you get. It's a problem-solving creative method and all that. Okay, so can I copy this? Copy image. Okay, let me do that and put it here. I tried understanding this image. It's a little bit complicated. But there are some methods which has been proposed. A lot of them seem to be from the manufacturing, construction kind of a perspective. But maybe some of them could apply to IT or other fields as well. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 36 useful patterns. There may be more, but this is the most common pattern that they have published. Good. Then this is what BABOK says. Always we should challenge our assumptions. Something is being done today. Maybe there was a historic reason behind it. That reason may no longer exist. Or technology may allow us to do a lot of things which was not possible in the past. So that's why we did it in a different way. Today, technology can allow us to do a lot of things. Technology changing at such a rapid pace that what was possible difficult 5 years back, it's possible today. Then comes decision making. And obviously, as BAs, we have to make decisions whether to include item, not include an item, whether to follow one approach or another approach, make an investment or not make an investment. And Babok gave us very, very nice techniques. So let me ask one of you. Ilham, you remember some of the decision-making techniques Babok gave us?
I don't have anything. I
You
can't
don't remember?
anything right now.
Any of you remember?
There's a decision tree.
Yes, there is decision tree, decision
Yes,
table, decision matrix. There are so many techniques Babak has given us about how to make right decisions. Okay. Then, of course, learning. Anyone here who believes that he or she need not learn any further? I think those days are gone. I think 30, 40 years back when people graduated from college, they could manage with that education for life. Today, I think whatever we learn, it becomes obsolete in 10 years' time. When I graduated, there was no internet, there was no television, and television came. Television is on its dead path. Internet is there. I don't know whether internet will survive another 20 years or something else will come. Okay. Then, of course, remember, you can learn through many ways. You can learn through diagrams and images. You can learn through listening, or you can learn through by doing things. Just to let you know, if you are a advanced or premium member, we have purchased some tools for you guys. We have Jira, we have Confluence, we have MS Visio, we have this tool. What is the tool name? Forgetting. Balsamiq. So please use those tools to practice that you would like to practice. And we may introduce some trainings on them, but sometime in future, not immediately. Yes, Ilham.
So for Visio, do you have the professional version? I'm asking because that's the regular version doesn't have the UML diagramming option as part of the template.
I really don't know, Ilham, what version we have. Better you log in and use. I don't use Visio that much. I somehow don't like Visio that much. Just a personal preference. I mostly use Bizazi or Lucidchart or Draw.io. Draw.io is also a famous tool that you can use. I think Draw.io has UML as well, and it's free. You just have to create an account. So we just kept Visio because a lot of people actually use Visio.
I use it a lot. That's why.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people use. I know. So if you look at Draw.io, it's actually quite nice. Suppose I want to do a state diagram. I just created a state diagram, and you go to UML, and you have all kinds of UML diagrams here, like sequence diagram, this diagram, that diagram. Does it look like a state diagram? Let me see. What does this look like? It's very small actually. This will make it a little big. No, this is a different kind of diagram. This is not what we looked for. So let me try another one. No. Maybe there's one more steps. Bootstrap, flowchart, clipart. Here, data flow diagram, entity relationship diagram, all these are there. In UML, these are all the symbols that they have. So you can use all these symbols. But state diagram, I don't see it directly, but we can use one of these to start drawing. This is activity, this is business object, this is package. Oh, very strange. They don't have state diagram. This looks like sequence diagram elements. State diagram doesn't seem to be there. Entity relationship is there, attribute and all that. Data flow diagram is there. They're quite nice actually. They have a lot of symbols available here, which you can actually use.
The bulk, the bulk of.
Yeah, a lot of them are there. Archimate is there. Material design, floor plans. Quite a lot of shapes are there. So you may be able to use this as well. But you can check what version we have. I think we have it's a paid version. It's not a free one. If it is not professional, let me know. I can ask the technical team to make it a professional edition.
Okay, I'll try it. Okay. Thank you. And again, what's the name of this program? The free one that you're just showing us? Is it?
This one, draw.io.
Oh, draw. Okay.
This is draw.io.
I didn't look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
you. Just let me make a note of it. So maybe some of you may find it useful. This is draw.io.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Then coming down, I think problem solving, we all know this is something we have to do. So we learned about root cause analysis, the 5-way analysis, the fishbone diagram, all that you can use to kind of come up with a new solution to a problem. Then comes the ability to think at a higher level. And if you see what we did, we understood that Babok is fairly large, complex, and that is why we came up with this kind of mind maps for you, which will make it a little easier for you to grasp what is Babok all about. So these are the 50 techniques, how they are organized. Then we also created the tasks and knowledge area mapping. So this is how it looks like, which task comes after what. These are all part of your conceptual thinking. And not to get drowned by the lower level details. So we call it a big picture. Then there's a term called systems thinking, which means people, process, and technology always interact with each other. A change in one would typically result in a change in the other. So if we change something in technology, it may affect people. If we change something in process, it may affect people. If we change something in process, it may affect technology. All that would be part of our thought process. Then your ability to draw pictures. I wish I can draw such pictures, but I can't. Any one of you who can draw such nice pictures? You're kind of blessed actually, because anything you put in nice pictorial form, typically stakeholders like it than putting it in text. Good. So any question on this particular skill area? Auburn?
I was just kind of thinking, so how are the conceptual questions going to be posed on the exam? Is it just more like understanding these to support the knowledge areas, or
Yes.
will there be specific and direct questions related?
No, it's mostly embedded into knowledge area. So for example,
Okay.
While negotiating with your customer, what kind of techniques you can use? Or what would be the best way to negotiate? We'll talk a little bit about negotiation going forward. What kind of skills help you to achieve something? Those kind of questions can be there. As long as you understand the concept, it's more than enough. Okay. Good. So let's take a look at another skill area. Then we can take a break and we will come back and continue. So the next knowledge area or skill area is behavioral skills. And these skills actually help us to get trust and respect from our stakeholders. Generally, do you believe that your stakeholders trust you? or they don't trust you?
Trust.
The trust, very good. So, which means if stakeholders trust you, it's easy for you to work with them. If they don't trust you, obviously it will become more and more difficult for you to work. But these are things which are a little hard to kind of quantify, so it becomes very hard. Say, for example, this question on ethics. What is ethical? What is non-ethical? It's a huge debate in the industry. A lot of people say legal, but there can be things which are legal but unethical. I mean, the law permits you to do, but it may not be the best thing to do. So what is ethics? Ethics is following good moral principles, being fair, being considerate. These are part of being ethical. So let me ask you one question. Someone said what kind of questions we may get. So maybe this is one kind of a question that you can get. Say we have a company and the company has different divisions. So this is the company. It has unit 1, unit 2, and unit 3. Now, among these units, 2 units are doing okay. Like this unit is doing very well. So we will give a color and we will give it a green color. They're doing quite well. This unit is doing not so great, but okay. So we'll give it a light green color. This unit is not doing well. So we will give it a red color. Now the company decides to close this unit 3. Is it ethical?
Yes.
Okay. Do some of you feel no, it is not ethical to close a division?
I think we need to first, stakeholders should discuss and then the issue, analyze the situation. If it is workable in, some point like in improving, in some improvement, or then we'll do it. Otherwise, if it is not workable, then we'll close it.
Okay. So I think it depends on how you do the closure. Suppose you abruptly close it. Okay. No discussions, nothing. Yeah. One day you decide, oh, this unit is not doing well, we are going to close it. That's probably an unethical way of doing it because you seem to be not caring about your stakeholder interests. Whereas if you plan, you think it is doable, not doable, or you find out a way to merge this unit with some other company, which is what many companies do when they find that this unit is not doing well, but a competitor may be willing to buy that unit from you because the competitor is in the same business and they may be happy to buy this unit from you because they get an additional manpower, they get a better market customer base. That's one way to divest the unit to somebody else rather than closing it. Say, for example, when I was in IBM, we had this PC division, which somehow became very less profitable compared to other units. And in the PC business, unless if the manufacturing process is not under your control, your ability to make money is very low. So the company decided to divest this division to another company called Lenovo because Lenovo was in PC business. It was already manufacturing IBM PCs. So IBM divested this division to Lenovo. And all the people in that division, they got also aligned to Lenovo. So that way, the impact on employees was much less. Okay.
Just have a question. To me, it seems like with ethical issues, there seems to be a lot of subjectivity around it. One business may find that, hey, this unit's not producing; they haven't been producing for a while. Let's just dump them, right? Whereas some others may be like, oh, let's try to see if we can include them. So I guess kind of more appeals to the employees that they work with. So is there a way that there's a workaround for this subjectivity, or is that just something that you have to kind of factor in?
You have to leave. See, all behavioral skills will have some subjectivity. It's not like 2
Right.
plus 2 is equal to 4. It's not that mathematical. But I think what Babok is trying to tell, that if management has taken care of being fair, being considerate, understanding stakeholder concerns, and act accordingly, then they are being ethical. But if they take abrupt decisions, those may be considered as unethical.
Okay.
Okay, but again, these topics are very touchy topics.
Yeah.
So then comes something called personal accountability, which is fundamentally to make sure that whatever work is assigned to us, we do it on time. That is mainly our accountability. Then to develop trustworthy behavior. And Babok says, how do we build trust with our stakeholders? By timely delivery of our tasks, being honest, being consistent, and having confidence in our work. The other side image, right side image, is something that I picked up from internet and I really liked it. So it says a person becomes trustworthy when the person has right ability, right integrity, and right intentions. So if you have all these three, then you become a trustworthy person. So obviously, being trustworthy is always a good thing. Then coming to your organizing your data and managing your time. So one of the nice things I learned from a colleague of mine long back. So since I run a lot of these trainings, so he told me a very interesting way to name my workshops. And I have been following it for quite some time and I have been very successful in that. So what he says is, Ellen, you kind of write the year, month, topic, and the customer. Okay, so for example, I did a workshop for ASPE, so I would write it as 2018-0604. So this happened in 2018 in the month of June, and this was for US region, and the client was ASPE. So by naming my workshops in this particular way, it's so much easy for me to go back and find out what happened in that workshop. Okay, so if I have created any content, I can actually very easily get it. So this has been a very good method for me to organize my data. Maybe you will find some way to organize your data so that you can find your data in a very easy way. And of course, I believe all of you use calendar to plan your day, week, month. That is something Babok is expecting us to do. Then, of course, Babok expects us to be adaptable because we work in different situations, different clients. Sometimes I have worked with about 20 clients in my career, starting from US, Germany, UK, Oman, India, Saudi Arabia, Tanzania, so many different places, so many different kind of clients, different types of institutions, starting from banks to retail companies to IT companies. So you have to keep adjusting your style to suit the location and place of work. Any one of you have worked in Saudi Arabia? It's a very different country to work.
I haven't worked. I lived there
okay.
because my father used to work there.
Okay. It's quite different. I don't know whether it has changed recently, but there's very strict segregation between men working, women working. You're not supposed to get into a room unless there are at least 2 women in the group. If there's a lady in a particular room, you should not get into that room. That's what we were told, that kind of stay away, be very safe. Even it's generally not very appreciated if you do a handshake with the other gender. It's not very well accepted. It may not be accepted in India as well. A large part of India, if you are there, if you do a handshake with a person with the other gender, some are okay, some may not be okay. So you'll respect all those local culture, belief, the way they eat food. It can be very different. So I had very tough time in South Korea because they kind of force you to drink, and I don't drink. So I had to find a way not to drink. So I finally kind of told them my religion doesn't permit me to drink. Then they let me go. So they were almost very insistent that you have to drink something. It's like if you don't drink, you are actually being disrespectful to the host. It's okay, I think. Cultures are different. Good. So this is the end of the second skill area. Any question? I actually, in a sense, like my role as a consultant because I can be in so many places, so many clients, so many geographies. Okay, maybe we have a little time, so I'll complete the third skill area, then we'll take the break and we'll come back and complete the remaining three. The third skill area that Babak talks to us is, let me pick it up. I think it is business knowledge, but let me just confirm it. The third one, it's business knowledge, correct. So I think there's no doubt that we have to have good business knowledge, but how do we develop these skills? So there are different aspects of business that Babak asks us to understand. One is something called business acumen, which means if you have worked in a business before, even if it is not related to a similar, even if it is not related to the similar kind of business, it still can give you a lot of ideas. So using this principle, there's a company called APQC, which has created something called an APQC process classification document, which is again a great document for all business analysts to go through. I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to look at this, but this is a really, really fantastic document. 1 second, guys. Okay, so if we look at this, what APQC has done, it has created a very high level process structure, and it says that there are 12 high level process structures in any company, irrespective of its size, sector, geography. All these would typically apply to most companies. Okay, maybe for digital companies now 0.9 will not apply because you may not have actually any property today and still you can manage your business, but that's probably very new. Most companies have some property, and it not only gives you this high level process, it actually drills down to the 4th level task. That's why I use this framework as a very basic framework to understand what companies do. And if you read this, you'll actually get a holistic view of what companies do. Even if you have not worked in that function, doesn't matter. Okay. And my wish is to write a book based on this framework, which could expand this framework to about 200 to 50 pages so that we get a next level of detail. So this is like the level 1. I wish to create the level 2 version of this document. God knows when I'll get time, but this is something my dream. Maybe this year, if I get a little time, I'll actually spend some time in creating such a book. Okay, so then comes industry knowledge, which is mainly to understand what a specific industry is going through. And in that sense, APQC can help you with that as well. Say if you go to APQC site, apqc.org/PCF, there are a lot of industry versions as well. Okay, so if you see here, There is aerospace, airline, automotive, banking, city government. So depending on your sector, you can actually download a PCF. So, and that PCF is customized to your sector. So this could be one good way to learn a little bit about a particular sector. Then there are a lot of associations, industry bodies, which actually can help you in learning more about the industry that you are working. How is this industry changing? Then comes organization knowledge, which is mainly the unit or client you work with. What is their communication channel? How is the structure? What kind of relationships stakeholders have among themselves? These are part of your organization knowledge. I have not seen this document, but in case your organization has a document which is called the business architecture, this would be the blueprint for your company or unit. So what are your vision, mission, goal? How do you achieve them? What are the key resources that you use? Maybe we had this technique called business model canvas. That can be a good starting point for building a business architecture. Then comes solution knowledge. Companies today use tons of software. They use ERPs, they use CRM, so many other softwares that they use. Even a company of our size, we use about 30 softwares which are not developed by us but purchased. And you may be advising the client, or you may be using those products to make the client successful, because it doesn't make sense to build software today. There's so much software already available in the market, and if you can use them, that could be a good way, because the rental costs are very reasonable. Like if I look at Salesforce as a CRM, probably for $250 a month, you can start using Salesforce. And 10 years back or 15 years back, we would have paid $2 million to have a CRM system developed and used. The world is moving more towards rental than towards construction. Finally, coming to methodology knowledge, I think there are different methodologies that clients use. Agile and Scrum seem to be very popular. So I would give you a reference for a company called Scrum Study. They have a nice Scrum book. So if you get a little time, you can download it and study it. Not before your CBAP or CCB exam, but later on, whenever you have a little time, you want to read a little bit on Scrum. This is a good source to go and read a little bit on Scrum. And in our company, we follow Kanban. Okay. That's it. Any question on this skill area?
Sorry, can you share the website, Ellen, of the...
I'll write it down. I'll write it down in this PPT. It's scrumstudy.com.
And the APQC, please.
apqc.org. The main part that I was referring to is in a link called PCF. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Anybody else? Okay. If not, I think it's
hi, Alex.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So you discussed like we have like couple of tools to use. Mm-hmm. So where to get in your website, in Succeed website, we can.
We should publish the license details in Succeed, but till that point in time, you reach out to Sue. She should be able to help you till the time it appears in Succeed. Oh. It's a very recent thing, so I think they will take a little time to get it organized properly.
Okay, so it will come up in
Yeah,
some
yeah, it'll
time.
come in Succeed.
That's what you meant.
It'll come in Succeed. Just that
Okay.
Things take time.
Okay, sure. And like once this our session is over, like if we have some questions to ask, then is it okay if we can email you or call you to like if I have some doubt and
calling would be a little hard because I may be engaged in some engagement, some training. Emails I'm always accessible, absolutely no problem. But we have earmarked time in a month. Generally, we would have a couple of hours earmarked, which we would again publish to you, publish to all our participants when the faculty will be live. So you can actually come and ask questions. Yeah. Like today morning, we had a session which I think some of you attended. Like I think Rick was there. It was not supposed to be for Rick, but anyway, I think that's our mistake. We did not communicate it well. Rick was there. Angel was there. But this is mostly for people who had attended in the previous months. That session was for them. Similarly, we will have a session for you in June and July and August.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
What's the name of that session, Len?
We will call it as exam prep webinar.
Okay.
Okay, so it's
you attending and the rest of the instructors, or just you?
Right now it's me, but I'm seeing if Laura can be available for some time. I will ask her to take one, at least in a month. Peter is a little hard to get, and he is also busy with his house shifting and all that. He recently moved from New Jersey to Boston, so he's occupied with his house shifting activities. But Laura and I, we can be available.
How long is this webinar?
This is typically 1 hour.
1 hour, okay.
Typically 1 hour. Because
and will it happen only on weekends only? Because I would prefer weekend. Because
no, one will be on weekend, one may be on weekday. We have to balance both. Because there can be corporate participants who are looking at a weekday program. We have a weekday program as well. So maybe we'll do one for weekday, one for weekend.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Okay, so it's almost 10:25 in my clock. Let's meet again at 10:40 and we will continue from there.